who is the winner of that election. He's a splitting image of his father. He joins me now in the studio. Chief Kola Abiola, welcome to the show. And happy Democracy Day to you, your family too. And thank you for your sacrifice to the nation. And we just hope the ghost of June 12 has finally been buried. Has it?
Thank you very much. Happy Democracy Day to Nigeria. And to the unity of Nigeria also. For Kola Abiola, yes, that ghost has been buried. And since I want us to take the opportunity also to thank President Muhammadu Buhari for making this day possible. I said it in the past, I'd worked tirelessly from the late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua to making it possible, but eventually he came in. He didn't just give us the GCFR, a recognition of that election. He made this day a national holiday. And furthermore, he gave the apology to the family for the misrepresentation of justice in the past. Also for me, as an extension from the family, I'd like to also extend that apology to every Nigerian who was robbed, whether you voted for MKO or not, from that election. I think we would have been a better country if if the election was not annulled. And I think we're looking at another opportunity to correct that.
Yeah, especially when it's going to be the 30th anniversary.
Exactly.
By next year. Well, I mean, this also goes to a lot of Nigerians who lost their lives during that epic struggle. Yeah. It was almost like for a decade. I mean, the search for a solution to the June 12th, yeah. Saga and all of that. And here we've seen President Buhari sometimes, taking a political step that in the North has pitched him against some elements, saying that it looks like he was giving so much recognition to an issue that some of them had thought that it was more of like domiciled in the southern part of the country, because we could see June 12th being marked by states in the southwest, but it wasn't marked by other parts of the country. Tell us how this singular act is going to make President Muhammadu Buhari to be remembered by a lot of Nigerians who witnessed the struggle for a longer period of time, and even students and children who will be reading the history of Nigeria after he's gone.
Well, I think there are a few significance here. The first is that it had to be recognized by him. He showed a lot of leadership to have gone that far. We've had leadership prior to him that didn't give that recognition. Ones that you would have automatically expected to give the appropriate recognition to late MKO Abiola, but refused to. I started this with President Umaru Yar'Adua, and I want to believe that if he had lived long enough, he would have gotten it. But prior to him coming to power and post his government, no amount of appeals made it happen. They were denying justice, but somebody it took the courage of a true leader in President Buhari to come out and do what is right. And also in doing that, he helped unify Nigeria further. In the past, we had the Southwest only recognizing the June 12th date. But by bringing it to a national holiday, it helped in many ways the whole country to unify and accept the fact that his votes came from across the length and breadth of Nigeria. Christian, Muslim, and whatever the divide you want to go with, which we do pretty badly with nowadays. But even in the armed forces, he won. So by taking that step, he had done that, unified Nigeria. He has shown that Nigeria was the right kind of leadership. We can be our brother's keeper, and in many ways provide a future for the generations to come in Nigeria. So I think he would go down in history as taking not just a bold step, but being a true leader and doing what is right in the face of whatever adversity there is. For a long time, the whole issue of giving my father the GCFR was an issue of why it can't be done posthumously and all that. But At the end of the day, it was a prerogative of Mr. President to do. And he took that prerogative. So we have to give him credit for that, absolutely. So we're a better country from that. By recognizing that, we're beginning to atone for the mistakes of leadership prior to that. And not so much the leadership that annulled, but the leadership that came subsequently and did nothing about it and chose to act as if it never happened. So he put all that in perspective and bear the brunt for Nigeria and his past leadership. And I'm grateful to him for that, definitely.
And a lot of young people have come out of that Nigeria from 1993, and some of them are still confused. When you mention Abiola, you say, it's not just, okay, he just came around, contested and he won, but some of his military friends, they didn't just want to give it to him. I just want you to put it in proper perspectives for especially the younger set of Nigerians who are eager to vote and express themselves in next year's election. Why should the mention of an MKO Abiola trigger these feelings of the need to have transparent elections?
Well, first, 30 years is a long time. It's a whole generation right there. So many of the youth of today were not probably born then. And if they were born, they were a little too young to understand what's going on. But unfortunately, history is not kept, and many of them are not scholars of history. For them, the MKO that came out for all of us collectively, in that he's been known to be one that respects the younger generation. He wanted to build a country that gave them an opportunity, equal opportunity, that is, not just an opportunity, but an equal opportunity. And in many ways, like I've said in the past, he was way ahead of his time in that perspective. Sports, publishing, oil and gas. He did things that put very, very young people in charge of multi-billion establishments to run free. And he paid the price in many ways, in Concord, for example. The man doesn't know what is being printed, but half the time the Concord is locked up is because something was printed. He had no idea what was in the paper. It's only when the crisis comes that he now opens a newspaper. Yeah, he now opens a come. What did you guys do? And he now sees it and says, oh, well, I had nothing to do with it. Many a times you will see him in the car flipping the newspaper. What he's looking at are the ads. And he will say, oh, this is the revenue for the day. That's what he's looking at. So he just gave them a free hand to be creative and be what they are today. And that's why in this industry, it is about, I think everybody must have gone through his table at one point or another, or at least the leadership of this industry. So it's like he was that kind of person. And we in many ways, I keep saying he would have been a far better people by now because we would have had an opportunity. Look, very simple. I am in this race today. And for me, the whole June is very personal. And being in the race today, I have a rush of a lot of activities I did 29 years ago, 28, 29 years old, in age then. And a whole rush of a lot of things coming back to me. The process we went through, how my thought processes then, what I had to go through then. But you know what? It's exactly the same thing today. The same, nothing has changed.
I mean, the only I'm going to come to that. I mean, okay. Politically, so the tendencies are almost.
It's the same. It's a mirror of 1993.
Yeah. I mean, 1993 is just staring us at the face again.
Yeah. So if I look at that and I see the fact that if his election was allowed to actually manifest, he would have been out of the scene by now at 86.
And some say maybe he would have been demystified because, I mean, having not gotten an opportunity to actually rule has made him to look like, okay, he's like one of the best presidents we never had. And we've seen some people who have been given such opportunities only for them to demystify themselves.
Yeah, because the only difference in his own case is that he had a mandate. And that mandate was also what he was about to push. Okay. And that mandate will give him the leverage to actually do what is right.
Okay, Kola, I want to talk about the other side of MKO too,
Yes,
that some of the older generations have as a source of bitterness against your
Okay, please.
father. Many of them said he actually called for Ernest Shonekan's government to be swept away by his friend Abacha, so that Abacha will hand over the government back to him. And here was Shonekan, a fellow Egba man from Abeokuta, from Ogun State. Now, there was a misgiving earlier on that Shonekan accepted that. But for Chief Abiola to have also called for Shonekan's government to be swept off by a dictator so that the dictator will hand it over back to him, there was a lot of misgiving about that. And they keep saying that it's the natural way of Abiola. He has participated in military coups, helping to sponsor and all of that. That there's this part of it that your family and Nigerians are also not talking about.
No, I have no apologies for that. It's sort of like putting the horse before the cart. Why would an Egba man take a position that was meant for an Egba man? so I have no apologies for that. It's just like they say now, it is what it is at the end of the day. So I have no apologies for that. As to military relationships and all that, it is what it was then. And he was a key player in every step of the development of Nigeria. And as a key player, as a businessman, and as a person that did so much for Nigeria, you couldn't have left him out of the equation. He was in the thick and thin of everything, And that, and despite all that, besides GCFR, for everything he has done, he never got one national honor, be it from a military government or civilian government. So you see,
except maybe in sports, I mean,
that came from CAF. That's not from Nigeria.
The pillar of sports
that's in Africa. That's from CAF. Not from the government of Nigeria. So I have no apologies for that at all. It's just him being active in the day-to-day activity of not just the lives of Nigerians, but also in the future and development of Nigeria. And that's what they have done.
And I've read in some other books, including one by Lamidi Adedibu, where he said they actually felt betrayed by your father, because including Babagana Kingibe at some point in time, when they actually could see an Abiola hobnobbing with an Abacha without readily coming to come and tell Kingibe. And as a result of that, Kingibe had to also give in by taking a ministerial position. And that your father asked people like Lateef Jakonde and all of that to get into Abacha's government ahead of his coming. How do you explain this contradiction?
That is a total misgiving of the narrative. Look, an election was annulled. These guys, from what I know and I should know, were already in the government already. Look, what the Yar'Adua group did, they had a meeting in Kaduna where they said, look, if General Abacha cannot give an exit date, they will not participate in the process. They participated in the interim government because that had a shelf life.
That was an ING.
ING, yes. But when General Abacha came, the meeting we had in Kaduna was specific. Go and find out, I will go as in general, figure out when the expiry date for that government was. For as long as it's open-ended, we will not participate in that government. So they knew. So if you notice, there's nobody from the Yar'Adua group that participated in the Abacha government for that reason. Now, when the other half decided to join, they had made up their conclusions that they were going to go. They didn't need MKO sanction. That's the truth. And it was also a reality for him to sit back and say, you know what, Kola, let me cut my losses. They're going to go anyway, or I continue to hold the fort. At what expense? And at what price? At whose time? And at the end of the day, like we discussed in the room, that one evening, it was like, sir, if we don't know this in right, we're going to be the biggest losers. And that's exactly what has happened. So they were gone way before. They knew they were going to be, I knew they were going to be in that government. I knew from my own sources that they were, and I told him they were going to be in that government. So when they came for that meeting, I'd given him the information already. It was a fait accompli for him. So he just flowed along. I said, you know what? I knew the decision has been made. So anything I say right now wouldn't make the difference. And that's exactly what happened.
And when Obasanjo said that your father was not the Messiah that Nigeria needs, how did he take it as a then?
My father is a very forgiving human being. It's the same MKO when General Obasanjo was trying to be UN General Secretary.
Yeah, UN Secretary.
That just against all odds went out and campaigned for him. Against all odds went to, and he's still alive, Nobel laureate,
okay. Professor Wole
Soyinka went, and I was there, prostrated for him. Please, whatever happens, he's one of us. Not just that, we're all for Abeokuta. Whatever it is, you need to forgive him. Let's do the best we can to make sure he gets his seat, right? And he said, look, I can't support this guy. He said, look, okay, because of your singular act, I would not go out publicly and go against him, but I will not support him. And that's why we left it. And the same guy who does all that, whether he's a Messiah or not, I leave it to the public to decide. He has a very big heart, and he's very forgiving heart, irrespective. He's that, and I think that is what has worked for even us, his kids, today. We have revived a lot of that.
Yeah, and people keep asking, how could an Obasanjo, after such an experience, go on for 8 years and still not recognize June 12th as Democracy Day until he had to take President Muhammadu Buhari?
I said that. Well, you said it out right, and I said that earlier on. The best, I
fellow Egbaman, and they were in the same school, the same editorial team.
My father was actually the president's senior in school. But that's what it is. I mean, the best we did, even the stadium that was named by President Buhari, there was, I think, if I'm right, the House of Assembly passed a bill to name the stadium after MKO. It was vetoed. The best we got was a street in Abuja, which we would have gotten anyway. So you see, it's their own thing. It's not for Kola to get involved in that. Whatever it is between themselves, they should sort it out. And I said it before. I'm a son to both. So whatever the differences they have, one is gone, one is still alive. I'm sure they'll reconcile themselves.
Yeah, and then tell us about your father's politics. I mean, there was this saying he usually said to, IBB in those days, that you are the head of state of Nigeria by daytime, I'm the head of state or the president of Nigeria at night. I mean, because almost every politician always wanted to meet your father for one favor or the other, for one intervention or the other, and all of that.
I don't think you should. I don't think it's fair to restrict it to politicians. Every Nigerian, irrespective of where you come from,
including irrespective of religion,
irrespective of where you come from, and the beauty is that he has a photographic memory. So the next time you come, he knows that you can look. The only thing I can say really is that at least Nigerians said thank you to him by voting for him overwhelmingly in his election. That's the biggest thing he got in his lifetime for what he had done and the lives he had changed and the homes he had reached. That's the biggest thing Nigeria could have done. They said thank you to him by voting overwhelmingly for him. And that for me means more than anything, really, and that is a legacy that he leaves behind till tomorrow.
Yeah, and some people are beginning to also want to start comparing him to a politician in this generation of find ourselves and who's going to be taking part in next year's election. One of your rivals saying that he's almost looming like that, and people are afraid. Some sections of the polity are like, I hope we are not going towards 1993 somehow again, because here you have a Southwestern politician in the person of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu that almost every politician in the country runs to, or he has one thing or the other. And there are these fears, Kola, that somehow we have to be careful so that June 12 doesn't happen in 2023 again.
June 12 is, look, Yesterday I stepped back and I told myself, I went for a jog and a walk, and I was telling myself, you know what? This is the exact mirror of 1993.
Yeah.
The only person missing, in this is MKO.
Yes.
But Governor Bola Tinubu was very active then. Waziri Atiku Abubakar was a candidate then. Everything, everything is an exact mirror 39 years after. 29 years. Only a difference there is that MKO is not in that picture.
And maybe Shehu Musaya Raduatu.
Yeah. That's the only difference. And I am in this race today because of that reason. Because you see, I stepped back and it just occurred to me that, look, it's going to be 30 years next year. And I said, look, I need to step in and make a change. If not, this whole mistake is just going to continue and continue. We've been rolling it over for 29 years, going to 30. The same set.
And people are already predicting the same sort of betrayals ahead of time, including the controversial issue of a proposed Muslim ticket for Bola Tinubu, who is of the ruling party. And of course, we know the SDP was a nucleus of, you know, a lot of progressives that time, although the conservatives pitched their tent with the NRC then. Tell us what lessons we need to learn on, this issue of religion when it comes to pairing candidates.
You see, for me, what Nigeria needs is the most competent leadership. The generation that I think are going to vote the most. And I'm going to say it on record. Next year's election is going to be the highest voter turnout by a long mile in the history of Nigeria. And many of those voters are going to be youth, first-time voters, and people who had cards that never voted. And to them, I think they're blind basically to whether you're north, south, in between, Christian, Muslim, or pagan. All they want is somebody to come in with good leadership. We will show Nigeria and Nigerians that we can survive as a country. All it takes is the right process, a very transparent process for that matter, and good leadership. I mean, the lessons of the Civil War, the lessons of MKO Abiola goes to show that with the right kind of process and good leadership, Nigeria is a whole.
Okay. So before we end this segment, I want you to talk about issues of reparations. I mean, your father was very, very vast in that area, trying to get reparations for Africa, for slave trade and all of that. A lot of young Nigerians don't know so much about that. Tell us very quickly.
Reparations for my dad was the same thought process he had for helping every Nigerian from within. And he felt he could extend that reach to the African in the diaspora, whether you're Black American, Caribbean, and otherwise. And he felt that as a vehicle, we're the custodians of the Black race. As many of us as possible should be encouraged to come home. Unfortunately, Ghana is reaping a lot from that today. That's his foresight. We have placed ourselves in a position that we can't even take advantage of that. So it's his own way of extending the hand from the mother country, as I say, to the diaspora as a whole. I'm believing that collectively, if we can bring that expertise and bring that resource to the continent, we can actually close the divide. And that's why he spent a lot of time preaching and going around, putting that reparations committee together.
And do you think the Western powers were afraid of him, that if you have a president who is an MKO Abiola with the calls for reparation, there will be a problem?
It's not impossible.
Okay, I'll just ask you to hold on while we go on this break. You've been speaking as MKO Abiola's son now, but when we come back now, you will be speaking as a presidential candidate of the People's Redemption Party.
Thank you very much.
With us, you're still watching the Arise interview. When we return, we'll be speaking with Kola Abiola on the 2023 elections and his aspirations for the presidency. Stay with us.
I just want flex, don't need stress in my life. Avoid the yawa, I no want queue for the bank. chop chop, I don't open an account. Digital bank, we get the power now vote. I pay my bills easily, I'm running things like a boss. Collect a loan with no collateral. Vote is the answer. Vote is the way. Vote is the answer. From Polaris Bank, vote is the answer. Vote is the way.
Take control. Download Volt by Polaris Bank. That's VULTE. Visit the Google Play Store or Apple Store now. Volt is available to Polaris and non-Polaris Bank customers. Volt by Polaris Bank.
There's no other animal as courageous and majestic as the lion. But with only 50 lions left in Nigeria, they may soon just be a memory. When snares are used for bushmeat, we rob the lions of their food and risk maiming them for life. So please say no to illegal bushmeat and help protect the lions. Keep them wild and keep us safe.
In 1894, our first branch opened in Lagos, Nigeria. And we took our place in this new land brimming with possibilities and surprises. Take Kano, for instance, where the city's wealthiest trader made his first deposit. 20 bags of silver arriving on camelback. Aren't you glad that we offer online banking today? Expanding across the West African sub-region and beyond, our early presence made it possible for all hardworking Africans to build great things. So is it any wonder that not one, but two first bankers have gone on to become Nigeria's central banker? We are intricately woven into the fabric of society, supporting polo for over 100 years and pushing the limits of athletic performance. Rooted in tradition, but constantly leaning forward into the future. Are you coming?
You first. First Bank.
Good afternoon, Oga. Now you be the landlord.
Yes, Nami.
Oga landlord, me go need one room for this your house, so.
Okay, sure you get work what you dey do.
Yes, I be nurse.
You know go dey owe me be that now.
Now how much be your rent, safe?
Not just 90,000 naira. Wait, this guy, where you come from, Sef?
Oga, I come from Akamata.
Akamata, no talk am again. My spirit and Akamata people no dey ever join.
Oga, wetin happen now?
Come over for my compound. Na so baba thing na people sabi do for that Akamata. Come over here.
Haba, Papa, wetin this innocent girl do you now? Now people like you, they spoil Nigeria, Papa.
I think you don't see am now. My people they talk say jollof rice we dey for bottom pot today. Go dey top of cooler tomorrow. As I take need you now, so you self need me. Because now one mama we get we be Nigeria. Make we love ourselves. Because now only together we go fit to make our country better for us and our children them. One heart plus one love equals better Nigeria. Now the Center for Democracy and Development CDD with support from the UK government, they bring in this message.
Welcome back to the Horizon TV, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things and featuring the voices around the world. I'm Sumner Sambo. And Kola Abiola has emerged as the presidential candidate of the People's Redemption Party, PRP, for the 2023 election. The son of late MKO Abiola polled 2,097 out of the 3,522 accredited voters to defeat his closest rival, Usman Bugaje, who polled 813 votes. Now, a medical professional, Patience Ndidi came a distant third with 329 votes, while Boluga Erosimi, a retired colonel, came fourth in the keenly contested primary election.
Announcement of results and declaration of winner of the presidential primary election of the People's Redemption Party held on 5th June 2022 across all the states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, which we have collected with you because you were here when the collation was done. And these are the results of the election in terms of number. Mrs. Patience Ndidi got 329 total votes. Colonel Boluga Erosimi Mosugu got 263 votes. Mr. Latifu Kolawole Abiola got 2,097 votes.
It's never been easy. In the past few weeks, we've been going around telling people his ambitions and his plans. That's the reason why they are convinced to vote for him, actually.
All right. And I'm still glad to have in studio with me here Chief Kola Abiola, who is the presidential candidate of the People's Redemption Party, a very old political party that's in its 40s here. And I'm so glad to have you. But there was something so unique about the PRP's convention, unlike that of the APC, PDP, and of course some other parties. You didn't bring all your delegates to converge in Abuja. Your party decided to set up committees to hold sort of mini conventions in the states and then before the affirmation here. Tell us more about that process that's throwing you up now as a presidential
thank
candidate.
you. Let me start by thanking the 365,000 delegates of the party for electing me as the presidential candidate. I'm eternally grateful, and what they've been able to show is that the party, People's Redemption Party, PRP, is in every local government in this country, contrary to the stereotype that we're a northern party.
The narratives that you don't have structure.
Exactly. So we're in every local government. What you have equally shown is the spread in which I collected those votes across the length and breadth of the country. You've even gone to prove to people that irrespective of my own zone, I'm still the preferred candidate of PRP. And I'm so grateful for that. For once, we're about to make a big change in the history of politics in Nigeria. That said, we're a PRP and we're not a money party. We don't have the funds to bring in people for a huge convention. The last convention we had.
And people will be doubting why an Abiola son doesn't have dollars to share.
No, that's it's a doctrine, actually. It's not so much the dollars, it's the doctrine. Okay. The doctrine is one in which the last convention we had, every delegate, about 1,000 delegates that came, paid their way to Abuja, paid their feeding, and paid their way back and accommodation. So that is the kind of party we are. You should try going around the country and seeing the kind of party offices we have, because there are party offices that have been donated by either the party chairman himself or the party members. And every time we have meetings, we have to actually hire chairs plastic chairs to accommodate us. So I am so proud of that commitment. We're a party of very, very fanatical membership. And that, I think, is the beginning of what gives us our strength.
Can you describe what you mean by fanatical membership?
Yeah, they're in love with their party.
Want to understand
they're in love with their party. They're diehard PRP people. They will give you the history of PRP from the NEPU days, from Aminu Kano days, from Barabe Musa days, from Rimi days, from Bakinzuo days, and so on and so forth. They will tell you the history. And every area you go, they are so passionate, and maybe that's what the better word to use than fanatical. They're so passionate about this party that they give the little they have to show their presence. And what we have done is to bring them back to the forefront and show them, between myself, Professor Jega before myself, that look, there's a truly independent party out there that has an ideology to doing things the old-fashioned way. And for the generation that's coming, it's our own way of showing them that, look, not so long ago, 50 years, things were done the right way, not what you see. Not what you see today, that it's a dollar that both the fake dollars and the real dollars that actually make politics. No. And we both see ourselves and the leadership of the party as in 1993, it was about Shehu Yar'Adua, NK Abiola building bridges across the divide. But today in PRP, what we see ourselves is building bridges between the generations. We are bringing in the younger generation into politics, into governance and leadership. And this is the only party that gives them the opportunity to do that. And that's the role we will play going forward.
And Chief Kola Abiola, are you in this race to win or just to be a participant?
I am absolutely in this. I never do. Look, I stayed away for 29 years. I had an opportunity to be minister.
But we haven't seen you going around this race to woo delegates.
But I did.
Because that's very I mean, people need to see you more and more moving around, talking to people, and selling your message. Where's your manifesto?
My manifesto is my party manifesto. The party in PRP, the party, the manifesto of the party is your manifesto. What I just do is build out policy around that manifesto, which we are doing and we have done.
And why do you want to be president? Nigerians are interested in.
I want to be president because I believe it's time for a complete reset of Nigeria. And that's, look, I didn't make a mistake joining PRP. I did my homework thoroughly to join PRP. And I joined it because it's the only party that has no baggage, no, what's the word I'm looking for now? No inherited problems, no legacy issues. That's what I'm looking for. Look, it's the only party that I can convince the younger generation to get involved in the game. It's not just elect me. We have a target of electing as many. And personally, I'm looking at 40% of electable offices coming from this party. Because contrary to what everybody thinks, right, every local government in this country. That's why we have as many delegates as we have.
And someone will say, compared to, for example, a Peter Obi who's just entering the Labour Party, they don't see this sort of social movement being built by Kola.
This is PRC.
How can Kola says he will win the election when we don't see such an effect of
That's
fever?
Because we're a grassroots-based party. What I've done is
not social media-based party.
We're not. I'm not in that. Look, if you know Kola enough, I'm not a lot of noise making at all. What I do is deliver. Even during my dad's election, nobody really knew or saw me. They knew, but I did my own bit in the background. Maybe Kola has to come forward now and start playing the game like you want to see it done. Yeah, we will. But what I've done to date is to go around grassroots on a state-by-state party structure. What I'm doing now is to get my candidates to understand that you're part of a larger family. You're not just running on your own. So I've gone to them. I've gone down to that level. And one thing Kola will do, which is a beautiful thing Kola has, advantage, is that unlike many of us, Kola is home in any local government in Nigeria. And I mean that because I've been traveling this country since 1979. I have worked in the most ridiculous places in this country, be it Edo State in the bush to drill oil, be it on a farm, even in Taraba. It was Gongola then in Taraba. I've worked my behind.
I understand what you're saying. To ensure that I get the grassroots.
Look, I to the point that even the local government in where my farm is named after me. That's the kind of effort and homework I put in over time. So I understand. I've never lost my direction. I've always been focused enough to know where I came from. Contrary to the stereotype, I didn't start out rich. We didn't start out rich. So I know, and I've kept to that base. And that base identifies with Kola. You won't hear their voices because they're not on social media, but they are there. And you should, and I challenge somebody to come with me to Kogi or Sokoto or someplace like that. And come and see. You come and see it yourself. It's like my dad says, to help or to lift, you have to go down and bend and lift them up. That's what I do. And I do it very, very well. I'm somebody that goes into an unknown and creates a lot of value out of it.
And people will say in a race where you have Bola Tinubu as the APC presidential candidate and an Atiku Abubakar as the PDP presidential candidate, and maybe a Labour Party having Peter Obi and then an NNPP having a Kwankwaso.
Yeah.
What are the chances of a
The
Kola
chances,
Abiola?
the
or
chances of
PRP?
Kola Abiola is a surprise factor. That is the chance I have. It's a surprise factor. Even look, take the old PRP here. Our original states was the old Kaduna and Kano states, which is Kaduna, Katsina, Kano, Jigawa today, right? In 1993, I even won Kano for STP and MKO. And I can assure you, despite the names you give, I will win that state again for Kola. I am very sure. And we will win that state, those 4 states back for PRP. Look,
it's good to be very optimistic.
No, I'm not optimistic. I've done my numbers. It's a case of numbers. I'm a numbers person.
Okay.
And I've
because
looked
you
at
have
my
the
numbers.
sitting governors who are playing the game right now.
No, the sitting governors are all on their way out. They're not incumbents. That's another factor that everybody's
not. They don't make a difference.
Look, if many of them had to come again and have a free, fair election, they will. I can assure you, not a single one of them will come back elected.
Okay.
Even the second terms are questionable in most of the cases.
Now, let's talk about the myriads of challenges facing Nigeria.
Yeah.
How would a Kola Abiola as president solve the issues of fuel subsidy, for example, the controversial issues of fuel subsidy?
Like everything else, it's a 3-pronged issue. We have the people, we have commerce and industry, and we have the infrastructure in this country. And everything we do is about nation building and sustainable growth. So if you combine everything, that bit of it has to have a role it plays in the total equation. Now, we have done studies to know that, look, all we look at is this demand side of the equation. We hardly ever look at the supply side. And you have to cut cost, not so much on the demand side, but on the supply side. There are alternative uses for what we have to put the pressure off the need for you to always use diesel, for example, or petrol. Very good example, mass transit. You have every state that has its own mass transit, Abuja Transit, Lagos Transit. Why can't they be running on LPG? Why should they run on diesel?
Well, this government tried to introduce that, and it hasn't been selling.
Yeah, because LPG
policies,
because they have an interest. They have an interest in keeping on to importing products.
And so you think by focusing on those LPG-driven cars, for example, you can reduce subsidy payments?
You can reduce drastically for starters. And you see, the beauty of, like I keep telling you, I didn't just walk into PRP. The kind of changes Nigeria needs is a party that comes in with 0 legacies. We have never been in government. We were in the states, in the 2 states. The examples of our governance in those states still exist till tomorrow on record. But you can come into Abuja today as PRP. We have never had any directors on the board of NNPC. NPA, name all those parastatals.
And that's why it will be difficult for the elites to trust you with power.
Because we will do what is right.
Because they think you'll be revolutionary.
No, we will do what is right because it's the mandate of our voter. And that is what we count on, the mandate of our voter. Because we will have a turnout, like I keep telling you, like you've never seen in Nigeria before, for those reasons. And we're not going to play status quo because we have no what they call those things, untouchable areas. We don't have the legacy.
And how would you solve the perennial issues of Nigeria's high unemployment rate? These young people you're talking about, who want to back you or any other presidential candidates are all doing that because they want jobs. They want jobs, and jobs. And how will you solve that problem?
Unfortunately, the parties are exploiting that by throwing money at the game. They're exploiting the poverty that they created themselves. I don't have that problem as PRP. What I am trying to do is create a level playing field. What I'm trying to do is cut and drop the cost of living, the cost of setting up a business. And how do I do that? It's infrastructure. and putting policies in place and reflect the economy in the short run.
Where will you get the money from? I mean, we keep hearing every day Nigeria is broke. We have a revenue problem, Kola.
No, we don't.
How do we create revenues for Nigeria?
We only create, look, the leakages alone from a company that doesn't have a baggage. We can get the leakages solved and put that money in the appropriate places. We are going to go down, and that's why I'm campaigning for every candidate I have, right down to the local government. We're going to take governance back to the local government. We're going to take it back there, and we're going to inject the funding there. Look, we're going to create the fourth industrial revolution by using our own youth to create the jobs for themselves, by giving them the opportunity to create that job that will actually serve themselves and solve Nigeria's problem at the center. There's a whole policy play that looks at not just cutting costs, but look at redirecting our monies and using them judiciously and more efficiently. It's just about placing your funding in the right, putting round pegs in square holes. We waste too much money on unnecessary things that don't make a difference. And there are too many layers. There are too many layers. Once you can put your data together, which that is the beautiful thing about what INEC is doing now, by going out there and pushing for registration. What they are in turn doing is they're going to have the biggest database in Nigeria.
And do you believe in INEC's integrity when it comes to this election? Do you think that INEC has a capacity to deliver a free, fair, and transparent election? I mean, like it happened with June 12th, so that, I mean, when the numbers come out, everybody just accepts.
I believe they have the capability to do that. They have the will. I mean, I don't know, you must have seen the INEC chairman in a t-shirt trying to galvanize people to come and vote. Now, that goes to show that the man is serious of delivering first world elections. That's number one. Number two, the only way we will not get a free, fair election in this country is if the youth do not turn out. For as long as they turn out en masse, it is near impossible.
But what will you say? What will you say to the fears being expressed right now that INEC's decision to extend the deadline for submission of, credentials of all political party candidates was actually done to favor the ruling APC because it hadn't conducted its presidential primary?
That's not here or there for me. We still have 10 months to go to the election, right?
So you don't think the ruling party is being favored?
If they are, it won't make a difference. Look, we all know who the candidates are now. We all know that A is for His Excellency Asiwaju is here.
Yeah.
The Vice President is there. Excellency Obi is there. Excellency Kwakwanzo is there. And Kola, Mr. Kola, not Chief, is here.
Okay. So I know we haven't heard you talking about your running mate. Where are you picking your running mate from? Considering your the parameters that people used to rate you. I mean, you're from the southern part of the country, you're Yoruba, and then of course you're Muslim, sharing the same sort of format like Bola Tinubu. Are you picking a Christian northerner or someone who's a northern Muslim based on all we are hearing?
It's not an issue for PRP. I keep going. I don't, because we have been in governance before. It's a legacy problem for those parties, not us. That's number one. Number two, it's a decision that has to be done collectively with my BOT and my NEC. We had our first meeting today. We're looking at the options we have, including women, a female running mate. We're looking at everything. And by that Friday, we will come up with our thing. It's not just a caller decision to make. We are sitting down. We had our first meeting and discussions. We're going to continue to have them till we submit those names.
And if some Yoruba elders come around to you and tell you that, look, Kola, you're emerging as PRP presidential candidate is spoiling the chances of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerging as president next year, what will you say? I mean, if they ask you to step down, will you be willing?
I'm not here to, you asked me, am I in this to win? Yes, I am in this to win. And look, people come up with all these manners of scenarios. Somebody has suggested maybe I be running mate with Waziri Atiku. I respect him. I know him very well. The most difficult thing for me in this whole race is that I know the two of them very well.
Yeah,
and then I have to stand up and face them and debate them. But it is what it is.
But they don't see you as a threat.
They can't see me as that.
They don't see you as a threat because they just feel that you are in a fringe political party.
I'm not in a fringe political party.
What will you say to that?
I'm not in a fringe political party. There are two parties that are one and the same. You've seen what has happened since APC. There's a whole draw of people switching back to PDP. We don't have that issue here. And that's another thing. People talk about alliances and all these things as much. There's no alliance. PRP is an established party. We're not a shelf. Anybody who wants an alliance has to come into PRP, not the other way around. We are a full-fledged party on our own. And we stand by that anywhere. Let anybody tell me they have a president in every local government in this country. We have 22 or 20 governors in this race. We have offices we have almost 600 people running on this party in this
for different positions.
For different positions. So I mean,
okay,
we're not just a presidential party with a presidential candidate. No, we're not. We're with a lot of bottom.
So there's no stepping down, even for Tinubu?
Not for anybody.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Except as long as I'm alive, I leave that to God. As long as I'm alive, I am in this race till the end. And we're going to shock a lot of people. I know that for sure.
I only wish you well.
Thank you.
Kola Abiola, you say you're no longer chief.
No, I've never achieved.
Like Chief MK Abiola.
I've never achieved.
You didn't inherit his...
I don't have one traditional title.
Okay. Well,
I just call her.
Okay, well, your cap is almost betraying you here because you're looking like a chief. Yeah. Almost thank you, Kola Abiola, for being on the show to help us take a look at the June 12th celebration since the federal government made June 12th the day for the Main Democracy Day celebration in Nigeria. And of course, telling us about your chances in the presidential election next year and why you want to be president, and of course the problems you want to solve, which is very more important to Nigerians. We must thank you for being on the show, and we can only wish you well ahead of next year's election. Well, that's how it's done for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again tomorrow from here and the entire team here in Abuja. Thank you for watching. I'm Sam Samuel.